long as there's occupation in the Middle East, that place is like a bomb that's going to blow up any minute. Well, in the media, I've heard that this conflict is a conflict against America. So the conflict between the Middle East, in the Middle East, between the Israelis and the Lebanese, many Americans, and I'm quoting Rush Limbaugh and The Savage and a lot of talk show radio hosts, all they've been saying that this war is against America. So I will leave it there. So, Randy, talking about Homeland Security, just like what Larry was asking. I'm so glad to see that there's no imminent danger from that perspective, mainly at our county. Let's talk about the color code. Everybody knows the color code, but,
yes.
But sometimes we tend to not even care about it.
Yes.
We don't take it very serious.
Yes, and that's a good point. Ever since the Homeland Security Advisory System color code was originally introduced by the first Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, Tom Ridge, there's been a lot of discussion, there's been a lot of debate about exactly what does it mean. We know inside our profession, we've discussed that the current threat level that we're under, which is yellow or elevated, in many respects is what we consider as the new normal. Basically, the intent of the code, I think, was pretty clear: to communicate to the public when there is a change in the potential for the occurrence of an action of terrorism. And I think we can all review back in the time period since September the 11th of 2001 and recall a couple of times when the color code has changed from its current yellow level up to orange. Typically, when that happens at the county level here, we convene a panel of folks that include law enforcement representatives from the city, from the county, the FBI, others that are very active in this area, and we ask them a very simple question: is there a specific credible threat against Sedgwick County? Now, we know what the definition of a credible threat is. It consists of three elements. A threat is credible if a group that makes the threat has the technical capability to perform the threat, if the threat is feasible, and if they have a willingness to perform the threat. So when we ask that question, we have a very specific meaning. And so far, every time we've asked that question, when there's been a change in the color code, the answer has been no, there is no specific credible threat against Sedgwick County or against Wichita. Based on that, we have not elected to increase the level of security around public facilities and so on, which are all options that we could do if it becomes necessary and if a specific a credible threat of an act of terrorism exists in this area.
I saw you in the paper yesterday, and you were talking about using cell phones as a way of communication with the public.
Yes, as a matter of fact, the federal government is looking at the issue of how do we get warning information out to people on a more timely basis. Right now, when we have a situation requiring warning, whether it's a natural hazard, a technological hazard, or a Homeland Security related hazard, we have a system that we put in place that has several different layers. Those layers include our cooperation with our partners in the electronic media, television, radio, so on. They include the use of our outdoor warning sirens. They include the use of the emergency alert system, which is available over cable television in those areas served by Cox Cablevision. And we also use the NOAA weather radio as means of getting word out. What we found, though, over the period of time as we talk about the issue of warning, as we're able to get more accurate information to people about whatever the disaster situation is, they are actually much more likely to take action to protect themselves. A good example that I shared with you in our previous discussion, when we have a severe weather situation, in the past, the Weather Service would issue, for example, a tornado warning for all of Sedgwick County. Now we've gotten to the point where just this evening, as a matter of fact, we had a severe thunderstorm warning issued for eastern Sedgwick County. So in theory, if the day can come when I can tell you the area that you're standing in right now is going to be hit by the disaster in 30 minutes, you have a lot more motivation to take action to protect yourself than you do if we can just get general information out.
Right. In fact, that theory has saved a lot of businesses thousands of dollars actually, and we shared information. I do have, I believe, line 4, Roy.
Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening. How are you this evening?
I'm doing good.
First, I'd like to direct a question to your director there, Emergency Management.
Mr. Randy, yeah, go ahead.
My first question is, everything you've said has answered my question, but you haven't answered the question of what should our citizens can do to prepare ourselves for some kind of disaster here in the Sedgwick County area.
Should we have a kit type?
Oh yeah, that is absolutely the perfect and correct response. First of all, you need to kind of be aware of what the potential for disasters are in this area, and we shared the information with you about what are the most likely natural disaster hazards: flooding, tornadoes, severe storms, drought, earthquakes. The next best thing you can do is get yourself an emergency kit. Now, what do you need to put in this kit? Really, it's pretty simple and straightforward. What are the basics that we all need? We need some water. We need some food. Some of us might need the food a little more than others to maintain our physique, but those are the basics that you need. Now, there may be some special issues to look at. For example, do you take prescription medication? If so, you probably ought to have some extra available to go in your emergency kit. It wouldn't hurt to have a little bit of cash put aside. It doesn't have to be a great deal, but we all know with the price of gasoline these days, a trip out of the area is going to cost a little more money than it did in the past. Another great thing you can do is have a communications plan. The communications plan can include stuff like, say your kids are in school and you're at work and your wife may be at home. Well, so you all agree that if an emergency happens, you're going to call each other. Or if the emergency is wider spread, you're all going to meet at a particular location, somewhere outside your neighborhood. If the emergency is in your home, like a fire, for example, in your house, maybe you want to have a place to meet right outside the house.
And have a drill also.
Yeah, and have a drill, exactly. That's the perfect follow-up. So those are the things that you can do. And furthermore, if you forget any of those things that I tell you, this is the perfect chance for me to tell you about our website, which you can find at www.sedgwickcounty.org, all spelled out, and I think you can even see it on the bottom of the screen there. Many of your questions can be answered by going to that website. We have a bunch of downloadable material that you can look at and print out that gives you all sorts of suggestions for this type of thing.
Good.
Well, thank you. And a question towards you, Doctor.
Yeah, go ahead.
My question towards you, your opening on the casualties of a rock,
Okay.
and the casualties of
U.S. troops.
U.S. troops and all the casualties.
Right.
May I bring some to your attention? And I haven't read it in the media or anything, but I did a lot of research on the suffering of the Jewish people. And in my studying, I never read anywhere where the Palestinians or the Arabs or the Persians were thrown in concentration camps and kept from their liberties gone. And thrown in burning fire to incinerate them. I never read that anywhere. I never read anywhere where they were minding their own business in Europe, and it started a whole migration to Spain, where the Europeans were very upset and jealous because they held most of the wealth, and that was the reason of it. And they persecuted the Jews, and they migrated to Spain. I never seen that nowhere where that happened to the Arab people, the Persians, or the Egyptians. My point is, over the centuries, don't you think the population, over and over, we see these things on TV, and we have come numb to the suffering of the Jewish people, that we just take it for granted when they were shooting rockets over there for 10 months, and we see it on the news, well, that's the Jewish people. But my point is, where I'm directing is those people have went through a lot of suffering over the years. And most of those people who are set up there and what's causing some people suggest, a conflict. They're a bunch of European people who migrated there and established and claimed it as their homeland.
Roy, let me share one information here. If you would ask truly somebody who knows the